Hi everybody, it's Jetta here with Moonflower Insights, and I'm here to give you an energetic briefing on some of the things that might be affecting us here on Earth astrologically. On my last video, I talked about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in the sign of Aquarius. This was on December 21st, and astrologically it really marked like the dawning of a new era. As we move forward into a new time, conjunctions like this between Jupiter and Saturn happen about once every 20 years, but they're historically linked with really big events. So there's something that are really interesting to pay attention to and can kind of show that we're moving into something else. This particular one was a bit more, or a lot bit more, I guess, highlighted due to everything that we're going through this year, the fact that we could see it from here on Earth as well, the fact that it fell on the solstice, and then everything that we've been going through with these two planets all year in 2020 that was really tearing down everything that we had built around us that no longer served us, whether or not we were ready for those things. It brought a lot of things to light. It brought a lot of shadow within ourselves to light as well. And in the weeks leading up to it, I noticed a lot of different energetic shifts happening. And yeah, I can go pretty out there with this, but and I'm not quite sure who I'll use, but a lot of different weird like timeline shifts and almost like fabric of reality type shifts. Some were really highlighted, and it felt like all of a sudden the direction of my life had changed, and that's just what the universe had in store. And I saw that with some of my friends as well. And then others were more subtle, just things would perhaps appear different or just feel different. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's been going on since this conjunction. So it's really important to think of astrology and any kind of divinatory practice as something that is ongoing. We are living within the wheel of samsara, which in Sanskrit, samsara is pretty much the reality that we're all living in, and it never ends. It's like a wheel just going and going and going back and forth. And I always picture like the helm of a ship here, just turning and turning and turning and turning. And that's how astrology is. Astrology in a lot of ways is like, how can I put it? It's astrological practices are really important, I think, because it helps explain what we're going through, but then it also shows like everything that we're going through, there's lessons to be had behind everything, and there are things to learn, there's stuff to gain, there's stuff to lose that oftentimes need to be lost, and oftentimes we make it more difficult on ourselves by holding on to these things for too long, and they should just leave, and we perhaps need to become a little bit more accustomed to releasing them. And that was a big, big, big theme of 2020 as well. But studying astrology helps you see, okay, this is the general theme of things right now. How is that affecting me, and what can I learn about it? It's a really fascinating practice, and I think of it kind of like checks and balances in a lot of ways. It helps keep me in check as I study astrology and as I work with myself on my shadow side, and as I learn how to be a more collective player, but also a more confident person within myself, and to stop blaming others for the way that I feel personally. That's been a big theme that I've been going through recently. But anyways, the energies that I've been feeling since the shift on the 21st have been rather intense and rather back and forth. And this aligns astrologically as well. And it seems to align with people that I talk to, the people in my immediate group, my friends, what I see on social media. And what we're seeing here now, we have a lot of Mars energy going on right now. We've had a lot of Mars energy going on all year. Really, 2020 was the year where all the planets were like, we are going to make ourselves known to you, and we're all going crazy. They were like kind of screaming in the back of a movie theater, so to speak. It was really hard to continue on with daily life with all of this stuff going on, and all of it just aligned so perfectly astrologically. It really got a lot of people involved in astrological practices and studies. But anyways, a lot of what we've been experiencing is this Mars energy. Mars was retrograde in Aries for several weeks during 2020, and it went direct, which means that it's now going forward instead of moving backwards. I'll make another video talking about retrogrades, but pretty much when a planet is in retrograde, it demands to be noticed. And a lot of blockages or things that haven't come to the surface that have to do with that planet come to the surface then. And sometimes it can be difficult or confusing. We don't understand why these things are coming up. Well, they're coming up to bring them to your consciousness so that you can like release them out. And then also live a more true life in line with whatever your timeline is dictating or calling of you right now. We've been experiencing Mars in Aries, though, for months, not just in retrograde. Since the retrograde was so long, it's kept Mars in Aries longer. And Mars is at home in Aries, and it's a really powerful energy here. Mars is also at home in Scorpio, but Scorpio is the more feminine aspect of Mars. Aries is the more masculine aspect of Mars. And perhaps something that highlights this even more is that a big theme of 2020 was also like the patriarchy and the matriarchy were starting to become a little bit more evened out, so to speak, and the masculine energies at play weren't really too stoked on this, so it brought up a lot of unrest, right? And as we're moving forward now, we see so many women in Biden's cabinet. We've got Kamala Harris coming in as well as the vice president. So those are just some examples of how feminine energy is really on the rise. And I talked about that a lot in my previous video with the Great Conjunction. I highly recommend that you watch it. It's my only other video on YouTube right now, so it's not hard to find. But yeah, this perhaps have made things a little bit more demanding with Mars, because it is in its masculine exaltation in Aries. As well, Mars has been forming squares with Pluto a lot this year, and the last one it formed, I think, was on the 23rd. And when these astrological transits take place, they're longer lasting than just like the moment or second or time they take place. Like they typically are really, really, really noticeable within several degrees of the transit. It's usually like 3 degrees of the transit. Astrology is all math for people that might not have as much of an astrological understanding, but within these degree points, that is when we really start to feel the effects of the transit coming on, and then whatever happens, and then feel the effects of it as we leave and move forward past that transit. And the teacher that I follow for astrology right now, I follow Nightlight Astrology, and he put it really perfectly. He said, pretty much what we have here is the Lord of War, aka Mars, and the Lord of the Underworld, aka Pluto, forming a rather intense transit on the 23rd. And so what this means here, essentially, is that there are a lot of power dynamics at play right now. A lot of push and pull between people, a lot of people wanting to really establish their authority with one another, and also wanting to stick up for themselves in a lot of ways. And sometimes that can be really difficult because it creates a lot of discontent within us. Because when it comes down to it, we feel however we feel because of us, not because of other people. But it takes a while to understand that and to realize it. And it's a lot easier just to blame other people for how we feel. And that's not to say that other people don't ever do injustices to others. They do all the time. But really all you can do is be in accordance and in comfortability with your own direct truth and your own perception of the world and your own perception of relationships, as well as keeping your expectations in check and making sure that you reach your own needs instead of relying on them for other people. However, a lot of emotions were at play with this transit right before Christmas, and I still feel them at play a lot. I've had a lot of really interesting, really in-depth conversations with people the past couple of days, and I've really been trying the best that I can to sit back, speak and voice my truth when I feel it needs to come up, but really just go inward here. And that's really what all this stuff is demanding of us right now too. A lot of the astrology right now, and I don't know, the fact that we're in a pandemic and on lockdown. We're supposed to be on lockdown anyways, but it doesn't seem like it. At least not as much as we were before, but that's besides the point, and not trying to have a conversation about that really. But a lot of what's going on right now is really demanding us to go inwards. Go inwards within ourselves, understand the different ways that power dynamics take place and what that says about us and our truth and where our wounds are and ways that we are not reaching our own needs. Again, This is not to say that you can't rely on other people. You can and you should at times, because ultimately we are a social species. We are a collective. We are all part of this living earth, this living universe, really. And so it's also important to learn how to communicate those needs and communicate effectively in a way where it's not blaming other people when these arguments come up or these power plays get brought up. So I really welcome you over the course of the next couple of days to kind of sit back when you notice your ego starting to come up, or maybe you're starting to become a little bit angry, maybe you're a little bit restless. Kind of try to sit back with it a bit, or maybe get some energy out physically, and then perhaps write down where this is coming from. Another big influence that we're having right now is that we need to learn how to self-validate too, and not rely on other people for validation. There is a certain amount of validation that we do need from other people, and in the work that I've done personally this past year, it's been interesting how one lesson moves into the next, because previously I felt really sad within myself and really unsure because I was so bad at self-validating. Then I learned, okay, my friends can validate me, and that felt good because it was supportive. And then I learned how to do it on my own, somewhat, because I'm still learning, as is each and every one of us. And it can be difficult at times, and progress is never linear, and things still trigger me and bother me, and they perhaps always will. But it's all about the practice of achieving these things or growing more into the person that we want to be. Again, another theme of the Great Conjunction, another theme of moving into Saturn and Aquarius, another theme of 2020, and then especially into 2021. We're all being called to stand on our own 2 feet with a lot more assurance than before. We are all becoming more independent, and as we go down this journey, at times it's really lonely, especially as all of these things are continually brought up, and especially as we are in a time of rapid change. A lot of people are getting sick. A lot of people are dying. I'm broke as shit because of everything happening within the government and COVID and being kind of unemployed. So we've been kind of sitting in this pressure cooker of stress that at times just feels like you're getting poked with a stick in an uncomfortable spot. And this stick is just saying, hey, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. And the thing is, if we don't pay attention when we're being poked by that stick, those things are ultimately going to show themselves in the form of resentment, or in the form of disrespect, or sometimes even in sickness and illness. So it's really important that we deal with these things now, which is, once more, another theme of Saturn and Aquarius and what we're moving into with the new paradigm. We all need to learn how to process our emotions and our traumas and the things that we have been through that are uncomfortable a lot quicker and easier, so that we don't have this big backlog of stuff that we've had to purge this year. And it's been so difficult to purge it because there's just so damn much, and it just all builds on each other. We need to learn how to, and we are learning how to deal with them as they come quicker. So with this really heavy Mars energy, we're going to be seeing this heavy Mars energy for about the next month, because Mars is about to be making aspects with a lot of different planets. There are aspects it's going to be making with Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus. I don't have the dates with it, so to speak, right now, but it's mostly in January, and I think a little bit into Feb as well. But we're going to be feeling this need to really there's a word that I'm looking for, and it is off the tip of my tongue, and it's not coming. But to really push ourselves forward and to be like, hey, I'm seen, I'm heard, I demand to be recognized, I might be angry at you, I feel this way. We need to learn how to sit with that. Difficult conversations might have been had. Difficult conversations are going to continue to be had. It's really important to get in touch with how you feel at your core, and to try to simplify when you get triggered. Ultimately, if somebody says something that triggers you, it's a good idea to step back from that and think, what is the core need that is not being met, that you aren't meeting yourself? Or maybe it's something that reminds you of a previous experience that you might have had that was rather uncomfortable. It's important for you to sit back, simplify. Okay, it's not because somebody called me ugly or stupid. It's really because this hurt this deeper part of me, this deeper part of me. this deeper part of me. And then sit with it and allow it to come up and out. A teacher that I have, her name is Rachel. On YouTube, you can find her, Rachel and Sebastian. She's another channel. She's great. But one thing that she taught me to do is toggling your eyes back and forth when you're experiencing those emotions, and it helps you process them in a way instead of putting them in your back pocket or putting them on backlog. So I'd invite people to do that. I invite you to journal about it. I invite you to walk about it, but ultimately spend more time alone and learn how to self-validate. Affirmations are great for this as well. Future planning can be great for this. Also, just having a vision in your head of what you would look like if you weren't triggered. What your face would look like, how it might be more relaxed, how your shoulders might be more relaxed, what it would be like to live in a more simplified bliss from not being reactive when you feel hurt by somebody. So with that, I'm going to think if there's anything else that I want to say about these energies that we're moving towards and for. Yeah, so you think. I'm going to pull a tarot card and see if there's any advice from us from the powers that be and what the deck has to say about this. These energies are still going to be coming up a lot the next week, and then it's kind of going to be a little bit less so, but back and forth the whole month of January. With that great conjunction, we were really forced to ascend, and we all did take an ascension, really. But with that comes, I don't know, getting to fit into the new pants, I guess, or, you know, adapting to what that ascension looks like. And adaptation can be difficult because it's new and it's uncomfortable and we don't quite know what to do with it yet. But ultimately, you can't blame anybody else for how you feel. You don't have to keep people in your life either that do trigger you or poke those things. We're all moving through life at different paces. We're all on different timelines, and different medicine works at different times. But ultimately, the goal is to stand on your own as much as possible without needing other people and without being reactive with other people. Can be incredibly challenging. And the stars are really in our favor right now to learn about this as these things come up and as it's uncomfortable and ugly. So let's see. The cards have everything to say about this. Do you have any advice for the intense energies? Any advice for intense energies? Any advice for intense energies that we are experiencing as a collective? Any collective advice for intense energies? So I got the 8 of Pentacles and it came up in reverse. I'll show you what that looks like. I have a ring light, so it's really bright. Here's what it looks like in the upright position. It's a card of apprenticeship and hard work and perfecting your craft, really. Advice in the reverse. What this is teaching me, or what this is showing me, is that we all need to take a pause and make space. We need to make space, and we need to find compassion within ourselves. Don't be too hard on yourself either during all of this time, especially if you're somebody who's actively trying to work on yourself. It's the journey that we're all here for, and ultimately, like I said earlier, everything is a practice. It's something that you work at getting better at. It's not so much about mastery as it is about practicing, because even a master who is humble will say that they are still practicing, because perfection doesn't really exist. And it's also different amongst different people's eyes. So don't be too hard on yourselves during this time. Don't be too hard on others. When you need to find space, make space and do something that's comfortable or perhaps fun, perhaps playful, perhaps silly. Maybe make yourself a bath. That's my favorite thing to do. Maybe sit back and feel your emotions sometimes. Cry when you need to cry. Laugh when you need to laugh. Redirect energy when you need to redirect energy, and find distraction. It's all okay. But make space here. Make space for yourself, make space for your heart, make space for others when they need it too, but only if you have the space to give to those other people. We can't be too demanding of others at this time as we are on this solo journey. And like I said, during this time, it will be a lot of walking with others at times, but mainly walking with ourselves. And I'm getting the vision of somebody walking down a path and holding somebody's hand a little bit. And in this vision that I have, it's like a kid or like a more like a preteen, like somebody who is like a kid, but they're younger. They're much younger than somebody who would be off facing life alone. And they're walking down this dirt path, and on the side is a hand of somebody who's obviously an adult or older, but it's just the hand reaching down and holding this person's hand for a little bit, and that person walking alone a little bit longer by themselves, and then somebody coming in on the other side holding their hand for a little bit, somebody coming in on the other side then holding their hand for a little bit. You can always use people as mirrors or support. And then also, if you don't have anybody physically to support you, there are so many resources out there for healing. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. There's my plug for today. Because I will continue to make videos like this, especially if y'all like them. And also, leave a comment and let me know if these things are affecting you in any particular way, because I would love to hear how different people are experiencing this time of change, how it's being processed amongst different people, maybe different anecdotes or different things that they've learned that can help other people. And it'd be really cool to form like a community around something like this, people that want to learn about astrology and divinatory practices, what the spirit guides have to say, and then kind of use each other as mirrors or as support beams when we need it, when we don't have other people around. But yeah, anyways, there's so many resources out there. There are so many resources out there. The most important thing is to remember to take time to laugh, though. I think that we can often get way too caught up in this idea of healing that we don't like ever really let ourselves heal, because we're just wanting to heal so much and we desperately grab for it. But something I always say is that imbalance is just another state of life. It's just another state. Balance is a state. Balance is a more comfortable state, but imbalance is just another state. And it comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes, just like everything else within this veil of samsara that we live in. Anyways, thank you all for joining, and like, share, and subscribe again. I'll be making a video here in the next day or two for the Cancer full moon that we'll be experiencing on the 29th. And then perhaps I'll make another video for like a good New Year's meditation type affirmation deal or something of the sorts. So remember to subscribe if you would like to see those. Also, if you want to look down below in the description box, there's a link to my Instagram and my email. I offer private readings as well. I offer private channeled messages, private tarot readings, and I also offer private astrological readings. Or email if you want to collab. And then I also have links to my PayPal and Venmo if you feel like giving a donation and supporting me here on YouTube. All right, thank you everybody, and have a blessed holiday season. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.